Hi, today we're going to be talking about natural selection. Natural selection is the idea that individuals with the best fit traits for an environment have a greater chance of survival, and therefore they live longer and they reproduce more. Since they live longer, they reproduce more and they pass on more of their traits to the next generation. When this happens over multiple generations, it can result in the evolution or change of a species because the organisms that are less fit die off. So let's say you live in a cold climate and in the pond in your backyard there's a population of fish. And there's two variations. There's a larger fish with higher blubber content and a smaller fish with much less blubber, low fat. Although the blubberfish are slow swimmers, they have a higher survival rate and an advantage because the blubber allows them to stay warm in the freezing waters. The leaner fish are also part of the population, but they have a lower survival rate because the climate is cold. Since the blubberfish have this advantage of staying warm, they tend to live longer, they tend to reproduce more, and this makes them more common and more frequent in the population. As the generations go by, we would see an increase in the frequency of blubberfish and a decrease in the frequency of leaner fish. And eventually, you'd get to the point where there's no more leaner fish and it's just all blubberfish. So you have great great grandchildren, they might look in the pond and they see that there's only the fatter fish, only the fish with the blubber. There used to be a lot of lean fish, but over time, natural selection led to evolution, which is the process by which a population changes over time. And now all the fish are fat. So I have a quick video I'd like to show you guys.
Organisms vary. They look different. Don't believe me? Go outside, look around. Don't believe me? Grab a ruler, measure some leaves. They'll be different. This is a rabbit. Some rabbits are slightly darker than others, some are slightly lighter. Some of the variation we see gets passed down to offspring. Offspring tend to look like their parents. More offspring are born than can be supported by the environment. In other words, things die. Some things get eaten by predators, some get sick and die, some just get unlucky and get hit by cars. Some of the variation we see is responsible for determining who lives and reproduces and who dies. Those organisms that are well adapted to their environment tend to live and have lots of babies. Those that are poorly adapted to their environment tend to die. These rabbits live on a white background. Dark colored rabbits are easier to see, so they tend to get eaten by predators. Light colored rabbits are harder to see, so they tend to live and reproduce. Over time, some individuals survive and reproduce better than other individuals because of certain characteristics. In this example, coat color. These characteristics get passed down to their offspring, who then survive and reproduce better than other individuals, and the population can end up looking quite a bit different than what it did in the past. This is evolution by natural selection.
So lastly, a common misconception that a lot of students have is that natural selection involves organisms trying to adapt. You probably think this way because you know that organisms adapt to their environment. For example, chameleons can change colors to camouflage themselves and adapt to their environment. However, this is a different type of adaptation. Natural selection leads to the adaptation of species over time, but it does not involve individual species putting an effort or trying or wanting to adapt. Instead, it's the result of certain variations of that species in the population reproducing more than other variations of that same species.